Woof. Hey. You heard that woof? If you're watching the video. Yeah, you got to exhale. Oh, yeah. Remember that movie, Waiting to Exhale? So maybe they should have a new movie called Continuing to Exhale, or even Remember to Exhale. You think about it. We inhale, we ingest a lot of energy. And the key is, we got to recognize sometimes it's negative energy and sometimes it's positive energy, and you have to have a balance. I'm not going to, I'm not this psychologist or whatever. You're going to ingest some negative energy. Sometimes the negative energy is something that you can turn around for positive good. And here, stay with me now. For instance, the negative energy that comes to you may help you recognize that you need to be more positive. That's not the topic of today's message, but a lot of stuff, I live in the moment, and I hope you do too. And just as stuff comes to your mind, sometimes write it down. I got to get better at doing that because I get these great ideas and sometimes I forget to write them down. Okay, but we got less than a minute to go for today's actual message. or today's continued message, today's prepared message, because I prepare a special message whenever I do my broadcasts, and I enjoy celebrating them and sharing them. So let me know where you're viewing them from when you come on live, as well as when you come on in the video. Today's message is now time for us to deliver it, and boom. Okay, Dave, what's going on, Vic? Oops, I pushed the wrong button. Okay. Grant for life, brother. And finally, formally, New York here. Family. Oh, family. New York here. That's right. Family is here, New York. So anyway, hey, let's get rolling, okay? And first I want to say goodness to you. And I say goodness because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening. But isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation? Welcome to Truth Thursday, where we recognize that THURSDAY tests are rarely understood until testimonies heal. And I got to stop for a second and say, what's going on, Bill Etel from 1305? Yeah, all right. This is my first time seeing you on here. Grant is definitely in the house. What's happening, my brother? And then my brother from New York, Barry, from college, coming in from Brooklyn, but now he's also in North Carolina and Raleigh. Hey, see, never forget y'all. Love y'all. Okay, let's roll. All right. But in creating this broadcast, I want to let you know, and creating the broadcast title, first, what I decided to do, I like to give people my formula. It may help you with some type of creativity you need. First, I decided to go to the fact that truth, TRUTH, needs only half the letters in the word Thursday. See, it's how you look at the word. So truth only needs half the letters in the word Thursday. Second, we've all heard that the truth shall set you free. But what we need to remember to add is that freedom can be a tough choice because freedom is a result. So you see, therefore you see my affirmation for free is FREE, facts, risk, empathy, and excellence. Like truth, you'll find that in my book, Affirmations. Now, affirmation is an acronym that defines the word and brings it to life as an affirmation. So bringing free to life, we see that true freedom is based on facts, not luck, not guesses. Just using that and risk, RISK, as an affirmation within itself, recognition is success's key. We're reminded that once you know who you are, you have to also be ready to take a chance on being who you are. You see, we may not know how important it is to take that chance until we do. And I say freedom is always worth the chance. So getting into what truth stands for, we'll continue to start by embracing that first word, and that is test. Because that is the root. You can't have the freedom, the forecast, and the fullness of a testimony without the first four letters, without the test. Thus, my guiding scripture today will be Esther 2:1. But after Xerxes, King Xerxes, anger had cooled, he began thinking about Vashti and what she had done and the decree that he had made. And that connects us to today's test of wisdom or was dumb. Now, last week, I introduced some and updated others to the Sankofa bird that I had become familiar with from enjoying the movie Sankofa, which you can now find on YouTube, by the way. And it's a reminder that wisdom is in retrospect. It means the Sankofa means to go back and get it. It's a concept that encourages people to learn from their past to inform the future. And Sankofa is often represented by an adinkra symbol of a bird flying forward while looking backward. The egg on the bird in the bird's mouth represents the knowledge of the past that can be used to create wisdom for the future. And because we know the power of words, we have to realize that in creating wisdom, sometimes what you have to do is turn words around to understand them. So one such word that we're going to give to the Sankofa bird to help us learn from, or in modern terms, lay an egg, is pride. And I've chosen to walk pride backwards and understand its essential ingredients of discipline, intuition, recognition, and prayer. You see, sometimes walking backwards refreshes our perspective of what we really need. Today, I'll be reading and sharing 3 outcomes of knowledge of the past and pride, starting with the Persian king Xerxes. Now, in the book of Esther, King Xerxes was throwing the party of parties for his military officers and noblemen and provincial officials. Their celebration lasted for 6 months, y'all. You think we party? And when they left, he gave the palace servants and officials a 7-day banquet. Meanwhile, his wife, Queen Vashti, gave a 7-day banquet for the women of the palace as well. And on the 7th day, Xerxes' drunkenness told him to show off how fine his queen was. So he sent for her to come show off her beauty, which was something that kings could and would do. But for whatever reason, Vashti refused and sent his eunuchs back to him empty-handed. Naturally, this pissed Xerxes off and damaged his pride. So much so that he decided to show his strength and punish her. Now, in Esther 1:15, he asked, what must be done to Queen Vashti? What penalty does the law provide for a queen who refuses to obey the king's orders properly sent through his eunuchs? Now, rather than paraphrase, I will read his advisor's response to you as you join me for a taste of the early lessons in misogyny. This is chapter 1, verses 16 through 22. Memucan answered the king and his princess, Queen Vashti has wronged not only the king, but every other official and citizen throughout our empire. Women everywhere will begin to despise their husbands when they learn that Queen Vashti has refused to appear before the king. Before this day is out, the wife of every one of us, your officials throughout the empire, will hear what the queen did and will start talking to their husbands the same way. There will be no end to the contempt and anger throughout your realm. So if it please the king, we suggest that you issue a written decree, a law of the Persians and Medes that cannot be revoked. It should order that Queen Vashti be forever banished from your presence, and that you choose another queen more worthy than she. When this decree is published throughout your vast empire, husbands everywhere, whatever their rank, will receive proper respect from their wives. the king and his princes thought this made good sense. So he followed Memucan's counsel. He sent letters to all parts of the empire, to each province in its own script and language, proclaiming that every man should be the ruler of his home. Wow. And what's going on, Daphne? You came at me in while I was reading the decree that we could almost put into modern day language, which is why I read it directly from the Bible. As King Xerxes' pride was damaged by the fact that his queen wouldn't come in and tramps around his officials. That's the end of chapter 1. So let me say what I think that we'll find out, that Xerxes actually was kind of a pretty nice guy. Perhaps so nice that he wasn't the greatest at choosing his messengers carefully. And they gave him advice that the Sankofa bird had to mark him as was dumb. That advice that they gave him to cancel out Vashti could have been was dumb, but maybe it's not. We'll see. For chapter 2 opens up with his regret. But after Xerxes' anger had cooled, he began thinking about Vashti and what she had done and the decree that he has made. His regret, not his lesson learned, yet not his lesson learned, is that he listened to his advisors. Listen to chapter 2, verses 2 through 4. So his attendants suggested, this is after 1, where he was sad now that he had done this, because remember now he had banished Vashti, and so he was without a wife. So his attendants suggested, let us search the empire to find beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint agents in each province to bring these beautiful young women into the royal harem at Susa. Haggai, the eunuch in charge, will see that the young women will see that they're all given beauty treatments. After that, the young woman who pleases you most will be made queen instead of Vashti. This advice was very appealing to the king, so he put the plan into effect immediately. Okay, lo and behold, the plan did actually work. And this book's namesake, Esther, in chapter 2, became his next queen, whom he loved very much. However, unbeknownst to the king, Esther kept her Jewish nationality and family background a secret at the orders of her uncle, Mordecai. You see, the Jews were actually captives of the Persians. So let's switch the scene to a man named Haman, who in chapter 3, King Xerxes promoted to prime minister, making him the most powerful official in the empire next to the king himself. And Haman was actually able to get a law passed that all the Jews be executed because of one, Mordecai, Esther's uncle, who did not bow in respect when Haman passed by. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not bow down or show him respect, he was filled with rage. So he decided it was not enough to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Since he had learned that Mordecai was a Jew, he decided to destroy all the Jews throughout the entire empire of Xerxes. So here we see Haman taking his pride a little, or actually a lot further than the king had taken his, and bringing us another modern day's message root. My favorite Bible is called the Touchpoint Living Bible, which has analogies attached to scripture to make it easier to understand. It's not attached to every scripture, but just to certain ones. This scripture had a touch point attached to Haman's pride, and that touch point is prejudice. Haman hated one Jewish man, and because of his hatred for this one Jew, he was anxious to murder thousands of Jews he had never met. Someone in another part of the world may wish you were dead merely because you are linked to a particular person or group. We read the story of Haman and see the foolishness of his hatred for all the Jews. Yet we often base our opinions of a single person on what we think of other people who have his or her own same skin, color, religion, political views, or nationality. Haman's story of hatred and prejudice run wild. Haman's story of prejudice run wild should serve as a warning to all of us. So will the Sankofa bird get to send another was dumb point to Xerxes? Because he gave Haman permission to destroy all the Jews on March 7th. And is that a wisdom point for Haman for having been so slick? Sometimes it's hard to tell. Well, before we add up those points, let's realize that chapter 4 is about Mordecai and Esther trying to figure out what she can do to save her people. And by the way, if you know a little bit about the Bible, you're following me. If you don't, believe me, the Bible doesn't really read the way I'm reading it. I just thought I'd throw that in because I'm thinking about it. But let's fast forward to chapter 5. Wait. Before we add up the points, let's realize chapter 4 is about Mordecai, the uncle, and Esther trying to figure out what she can do to save her people. Remember, she's the queen now. So fast forward to chapter 5, where she starts to put her plan into action. And let's bring Haman back in. See, he wasn't Facebook friends or LinkedIn or YouTube friends with Queen Esther. So he didn't even know that Mordecai was Esther's uncle. And remember, Mordecai is a Jew that he couldn't stand. And when the queen offered to prepare a special meal, this was her plan, a special meal for the king and prime minister only. Remember Prime Minister Haman? She offered to prepare a meal for the king and prime minister only. So deep was his hatred that Haman would not even allow himself to enjoy what he thought was more power on the horizon for him. Because of Mordecai. See, he added, but all this is meaningless as long as I see Mordecai the Jew just sitting there at the palace gate. Do you remember letting one person ruin your joy by living rent-free in your head? Hello, Haman. Meanwhile, in the same chapter, Haman started putting together his plan to hang Mordecai from a gallows 75 feet tall. Well, finally, in chapter 7, the two plans clash. First, Esther reveals that she is Jewish, and thus Haman's March 7th massacre will include her. She tells the king this, and that upsets the king. He's like, what? And this time, Xerxes gets the beginning of a Sankofa bird wisdom point when he makes a decision on his own. See, he didn't check with his planners this time. When she told him that she was actually Jewish and the decree that he had signed, because Haman got him to sign this decree saying that all the Jews should be massacred on March 7th. And according to the way the law was back then, that meant that the Jews had to just sit there and get massacred. All right. But finally, in this chapter, Xerxes didn't ask his advisors. He gets the beginning of the Sankofa wisdom point because he makes a decision on his own. In Esther 7:9-10, it says, then Harbona, one of the king's eunuchs, said, hey, Haman has set up a gallows that stands 75 feet tall in his own courtyard. He intended to use it to hang Mordecai, the Jew, the man who saved the king from assassination. And then the king said, then hang Haman on it. So he got partial wisdom points on that. So they hang Haman on the gallows that he had set up for Mordecai, and the king's anger was pacified. As that was dumb for Haman. And more wisdom for Xerxes. You see, in chapter 8, when he signs a second decree. And this one gave Jews authority to unite and defend their lives on March 7th. And then again in Esther 9 and 13 on March 8th. See, so after the Jews, because now it fast forward, 9 is March 7th has hit. And so the people that were the Persians were and the Medes who were going to massacre the Jews were allowed to fight back. And therefore, as they fought back, they won. Remember, we talked about freedom, risk, recognition, and success is key. Once you take the chance on being yourself, you can fight for freedom because you know who you are. And that's what they did. And they won the day. And then Esther went to the king and said, you know what, sir, my love, my brother, that was good, but we still need to just add another taste to it. And so can we also continue to defend ourselves and kill them tomorrow? And the king said, you know what? You got it, Esther, because anything you say is good with me. I love you. And so he signed that decree and boom, put it right into effect 24 hours later. And so the Jews continued to defend themselves and they won the day. It is now, by the way, a holy holiday, and I wish I had fully written out. It's called Purim. And I hope I'm pronouncing that's right. It's Purim. I think I'll put that history in the thread when I finish. Okay. So the book of Esther ends with chapter 10 reading as such, and we go in with wisdom. King Xerxes imposed. Remember, I told you I thought he was actually a nice guy. King Xerxes imposed tribute throughout his empire, even to the distant coastlands. His great achievements and the full account of the greatness of Mordecai, whom the king had promoted, are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Media and Persia. Mordecai the Jew became the prime minister, with authority next to that of King Xerxes himself. He was very great among the Jews, who held him in high esteem because he worked for the good of his people and was a friend in the royal court for all of them. But you know what? I promised you 3 outcomes of knowledge and pride. So we saw Xerxes, we saw Haman's. So let's go back to chapter 1. Not for Esther, by the way, but for Vashti. But when they conveyed the king's order, Queen Vashti refused to come. Wisdom or was dumb? There's a touch point for this scripture, and the touch point is beauty. Queen Vashti became a victim of her own beauty. Ordered to display herself before a crowd of drunken, gawking men, she refused and lost her position as queen as a result. Today's society is no different. People place a high value on physical beauty. Can you imagine how drastically different the world would be if people were asked to appear in magazine ads because they were kind, gracious, gentle, or trustworthy? It seems that Queen Vashti was making a strong statement on inner beauty, her principles of modesty. We can only hope that Vashti was beauty on the inside as well, so that her life would continue with meaning and purpose. Inner beauty may not attract a lot of immediate attention, but it will surely yield lasting effects. Let's give Vashti a wisdom point that we should all understand. We can only hope that Vashti's pride was based on the fact that inner beauty may not attract a lot of immediate attention, but it will surely yield lasting effects. You see, the truth is, sometimes walking backwards refreshes our perspective of what we really need. How important is it to wait, trust, accept, and believe? Once you know that answer, you'll be able to keep your pride not in check, but in perspective and in preparation. Because pride really is about the essentials of prayer, recognition, intuition, and discipline. And so often those things come in retrospect when we take the time to relax and be who we are, knowing whose we are. So remember, choose your messengers carefully, as King Xerxes did not at the beginning. And ask yourself, whose music am I listening to? Because tests are rarely understood until their testimonies heal them. And freedom can be a tough choice because it's a result. Let your result be that you gain and choose wisdom over wisdom. And thank you coming in. Awesome, Miriam, my apostle Miriam, good to see you. Hey, everybody. Wisdom being in retrospect. Go back and read the book of Esther. It's not very long. It's just 10 chapters. And it's a book that a lot of us are familiar with because most people know that line. Perhaps what is it? Perhaps the Lord put you in this place for such a time as this. I think that's the part we hear a lot, for such a time as this. Similar to Joseph, where he says to his brothers, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. See, there are a lot of a lot of the lessons are repeated in the Bible, but they're repeated through a different character because you've got to find out who you identify with in the Bible, or any book that you read, any movie that you watch. Come on, see, life, everything connects when we allow it to connect. And so that becomes the key. Who do you identify with so that their message can reach you? Because there's someone who identifies with you and your message needs to reach them. All of us are products of our past. That's the Sankofa Bird's lesson. What can you learn from your past to fuel your future, which is actually the present? Have you noticed we never make it to the future? Every time we get there, it's the present. That's the key. Are you throwing enough seeds to fuel those who will be in the future? Stop speaking against our younger generation. Start recognizing how you fuel what they're going to do in their present, because they make a difference just like we did. Man, you know what I watch sometimes? And I like that. Wow. Wow, we overcome well. So don't be overwhelmed. We overcome well. I just had to throw out there. But yeah, you know what? I'm watching right now 2 movies. Hell on Wheels, which is a series, and I'm in season 3 now. And then there's one called something about the West. But either way, when you watch those movies, when you watch the old movies, the Westerns, the Vikings, the Romans, man, don't you look at them and say, wow, how did they get around? How did they know that? You see somebody stitching somebody up. How did they know that all the way back then? But not in a sanitary environment. We have overcome a lot. I did a post the other day, and my good friend Trudy Shea, it was a post about Richard Pryor when he had actually lost his show, and he talked about how there were people who were against him being progressive. And so it talked about how whether or not times have changed just from his message 50 years ago. And my good friend Trudy said, have they changed? And she was asking rhetorically. And I answered as such, if change for somebody, change is a small thing, y'all. Stop thinking it's this huge thing and you can't make the sacrifice. You make the sacrifice every single day. When you decide, check it out, when someone says, what's your name? And you introduce yourself properly, that's a risk. That's a change that you could make. Everything you do is a change. So thank you, Apostle, but I'm powerful. I like that. Powerfully powerful. Because you know what? You're just talking to yourself. Like attracts like, and we have to recognize, see, we've got a negative, by the way, cliche for it. Game recognizes game. Yeah, we got a negative cliche for that, but it's also a true one. It's a positive one. Game recognizes game. Blessing recognizes blessing. Think about that. As you bless people, recognize that you are a blessing to be in their lives. Who's in your first 5 rows? There's a lot of things I could go on and on. I'm not going to, but yeah, it's awesome. Isn't it, Vic? Man, come on, Vic. And Vic just hit 60. He's going on 69 this year. And I know that because I'm going on 70. Man, remember when back in our 20s, 69 and 70 looked old? Well, they don't look so old to us now, do they? Okay. Ooh, gifts recognize gifts. Yes. And that's what we have to keep doing. Stop looking for the differences and look for the commonalities so that you can appreciate the differences. I'm glad to know that everybody's not like me, because if everybody, this is the wisdom versus the wisdom that King Xerxes was learning. When he just did it his way, he got results based on who his messengers was. And that's why I say, whose music are you listening to? Right now, the big deal is over Kendrick Lamar in the Super Bowl. But yeah, they're not like us. It's not a negative message. Now, I'm not talking about the song. I'm talking about that title. They not like us. That's the truth. Nobody is like somebody. Yeah, we are all different. Remember that touch point I talked about with Haman? Talked about prejudice because he was mad at one Jewish guy, Mordecai. He wanted to kill all the Jews. That's what prejudice does. It blocks your vision because it makes you worship anger. And so recognize they're not like us. So don't make it all about them. Make it about one person. I have a problem with one person at a time who disrespects me. I don't decide that everybody like that person is that way. Nobody frees themselves alone. We're all free because of the help of someone who's not like us. So let me stop preaching and just enjoy some of y'all comments. We are blessed ones to still be here looking. And you look marvelous. I just yesterday, and I'm going to go back and look at some reruns. Old school. Go back and look at some reruns of Laugh-In. Okay, but wait, who was You Look Marvelous? Oh, that wasn't from Laugh-In. That was from You Look Marvelous. That was somebody else. Look at some of those old comedies and just get yourself a good laugh. Okay, this is the truth. Yeah, and I don't know when you wrote that, but it's all true. And this is Truth Thursday. That's why I call it, because that's what I always will have to say. The truth is. See, the truth is, y'all. The truth shall set you free. You are the truth. But you've got to make sure that you've got the right sources, because that's going to make a difference. They not like us is right on point. It is. Nobody is the same. Let's celebrate that rather than use it as a weapon against, oh, you're not like us. No, it's like, wow, you're not like, what do you think we should do? And then I still don't have to agree with you. I still don't have to like you. But I'd like to know what your thinking is. And then I still don't have to befriend you. Once I know your thinking, or once you know mine, we may decide to part ways. See you later. Come on. Let's not stop beating one another up unnecessarily. Come on. You helping me? Thank you. Thank you. And that's the key. We got to keep on coming on. We got to help one another. But you can't do it unless you help yourself. That's a meme that I posted today, is put you first and let God lead. See, you can't put God first. You don't put God first, second, third. You don't put God. And then once you put yourself first, you'll find out, wait a minute, he was already here. Yes, he, she, whatever you call God. Don't let me blaspheme. But if we're made in the image of God, don't we have to understand that God is not asexual like plants? Just came to mind. But help yourself. Once you help you can help a whole lot of people that God has lined you up to help. And happy day to you too, my brother Bruce. I hope you saw, I think it was last week, I gave you the shout out and just thanking you for the cover design that you made with your artistic skills. That's how he helped me. I said, Bruce, I need a cover for my book. And my book, Poetic Tribute to God's Greatest Gift to and Source of Mankind, Women. Do you have any idea how fine you are? Go back last Friday and check that one out on Gift Friday. And that was Bruce who gave me that cover design. So, hey, look, y'all, I actually, with the reading that I was going to be doing, was a little worried that this was going to be a super long session, and I didn't want to impose on people's day. So, feel free to pop off because I do try to keep it to 30 to 35 minutes. If I get to 45, I'm like, ugh, I'm really pressing it. But you know, hey, we got it done in less than 30 minutes, the message part. So I thank you for joining me and always appreciate your comments. So God bless you. Keep the message, excuse me, think about it, and definitely read the book of Esther. One of my favorite books. One of my favorite books. Okay. So thank you, Vic. Let's close this out. Everybody have a wonderful day and have a one. You know what I say to the cashiers and the customer service people when they say, thank you, have a nice day. I say, have a nice life. And a lot of times they stop because everybody say, yeah, have a nice day. You too. Have a nice life. Wish people a nice life. I may never see you again. I may never see that cashier or that customer service rep again. Have a nice life. I just finished my noonday prayer. Yes, thank you. Find times to pray. Slow down. I'm getting ready to start investing my time in doing crossword puzzle. That's something I put in my Golden Brick Road news fun letter. If you're not getting that, I'm going to put that in the thread too for you to sign up to get that. This is something free that I'm offering to do what I'm sent here to do. Okay. And so, so that's that, find ways to calm your nerve. That's what I put in that meme today. Calm wins the race. Calm wins the war. Calm wins the battles first, and then calm wins the war. So be conscious of what we're going through, y'all. It's not easy being us. Grown-up stuff is no joke, okay? But thank you for finishing your afternoon prayer. You know how God timed that. Nothing by surprise, timed. So let's keep spending time together. So I'm going to do a countdown because, comments come in slow because of the technology. There's a little delay. And so every comment is a good one to end on. Finishing prayer is a good one. So 10, 9, 8. Yes. And let the S's sizzle. And that's funny because me and Vic, my homeboy, we used to play this game, Stratomatic, baseball, basketball, football. And we always say, oh, yes. See, so like attracts like. 7, 6, and man, I had did a post once to think about how many lives you change with a simple yes. That's how powerful you are. When you say yes, it changes lives. And Vic, you remember that, right? We used to say, oh yes, when we were talking sports all the way. 5, 4. Hey, Daphne. Thank you. The story. Thank you. Yeah, and believe me, I totally love listening to them too. Remember what they say, preacher, heal thyself. Deliver a message. Deliver your message because it's for you. And I, by the way, I try not to get focused on memorizing them because even with my poetry, I always tell people, unless I'm in a contest or something where memorization is part of the criteria, I like to always read my poems because I want to be in the moment. Every time I read my same poem, I'm in a different headspace. And that may change my wording of how I enunciate, what words I focus on and bring forward. And that's a commitment I made to myself years ago. And I've been writing poetry now, since I was 16, so over 50 years. But that was one of the things that I vowed to myself that, certain poems I know by heart because I've used them in presentations or I've read them a lot. But I still like to make it my goal to read most of my poetry when I perform it because I want to be in the moment and in the proper spirit. That's me focusing on who I am, what I do. What are you focusing on to be who you are and what you do? That's the story and lesson. So 3, 2, and 1. And again, if you're watching the video, put in where you're viewing from. God bless you. What did I promise I was going to put? I'm going to put about the holiday of Purim because I want to bless my Jewish friends and family. And what else did I say? Golden Brick Road, so that if you're not receiving that, you can have that option. And I send it online, so you don't have to read it. but man, you need to have it. Peace, y'all. Peace and love, y'all. Over and out. Okay, great day. Yeah. Yeah. From nearby Salisbury, North Carolina. Yep. Thank you. Great day for you too. I'm gonna give it another 5 count because y'all have been so wonderful. 5, 4, 3, 2, and you know who is the one. Peace.